You know, we all think we know sugar. It's that sweet stuff, right? The thing we're always told to cut back on. But what if I told you the story of this simple little crystal is way more complicated than we've been led to believe? What if it's not just about good versus bad? Let's unpack the really sweet and really complicated story of sugar.
So, let's just start with this wild idea. What if the number one villain in your diet was also the absolute hero for your brain? I mean, how can one thing be both of those at the same time? Well, that's the sweet and sour story we're getting into today.
All right, let's begin with the hero part of the story. Because long before sugar got its bad rap, it was, and hey, it still is, absolutely essential for our survival. Okay, so there are lots of different kinds of sugar out there, like fructose from fruit or lactose from milk, but our brain, it's a really picky eater. When it's screaming for energy, it's calling out for one very specific kind, glucose. Think of it like the premium, high-octane fuel that keeps our thoughts firing and our bodies moving. And this is so important to get. Our need for glucose isn't just some random craving. It's a deep biological command. It powers everything from thinking up your next big idea to that quick jolt of energy you need to, run for the bus. It's exactly why you see marathon runners sucking down sugary gels mid-race. They're literally refueling their body's engine on the fly for peak performance.
So, if glucose is so critical, how did we get from needing it to having it in, well, everything? To understand that, we have to look at its history, which is a wild ride, from a rare treasure to an everyday ingredient.
The journey is just incredible. For thousands of years after it was first pulled from sugarcane in India, most people on Earth had never even tasted sugar. By the Middle Ages, it was basically a status symbol for European royalty. And today, it's everywhere. It's even in foods you'd never dream of.
And that nickname, white gold, wasn't just some catchy phrase. People treated sugar like a precious commodity, a spice so valuable it was locked away and traded in tiny, tiny amounts. Just think about that for a second the next time you see a giant bag of it at the grocery store for a few bucks. And, well, that huge shift from white gold to a super common ingredient, that's where the villain part of our story really starts to come into focus. The consequences of it being so abundant are all right there in the numbers.
This lays it out perfectly. It shows you the two faces of sugar. The exact same stuff that feeds our brains also happens to feed the nasty bacteria in our mouths. And that awesome energy boost we love, it's directly linked to the acids that cause tooth decay. It's the perfect friend and the perfect foe. So with this kind of duality, you'd think we'd be pretty careful with it, right? But its journey into basically everything we eat has had a staggering effect on how much we consume. So just take a guess. How much sugar do you think the average person puts away in a single year?
The answer is about 24 kilograms, or 53 pounds per year, on average. To put that in perspective for you, that's like eating one of those big standard bags of sugar every single month. It's a massive amount, way, way more than health experts recommend.
But just when you think you've got sugar all figured out, it's either fuel or a foe, it turns out there's another layer of complexity. Sugar has some hidden talents that have almost nothing to do with being sweet. First off, it's a brilliant natural preservative. In high concentrations like you find in jams and jellies, sugar actually binds with all the water. This stops bacteria from growing and keeps the food safe to eat for a long time. And second, it's a master of disguise in savory food. Just a little bit of sugar can perfectly balance out salty or spicy flavors, which is why it's a secret ingredient in so many sauces, marinades, and even breads.
So we're left with this really complex picture. Sugar is an essential fuel for our brain that became a luxury, which then became an overconsumed commodity that also works as a preservative and a flavor balancer. The story just isn't simple. And that leads us to the final question. Is sugar itself the problem, or is it our relationship with it? Is it the hero our bodies need, or the villain our modern habits have created? Definitely something to think about.